Today, we are unlearning the culture of putting yourself last. My name is Amy Ballantyne. Welcome to Power to the People Pleasers. I'm so excited to have my guest Blanca here. Welcome, Blanca.
Thank you, Amy, for having me. What a joy it is for me to be here sharing with you today.
I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. I I do believe we have a bit of a culture happening of putting ourselves last, and I'm very keen for you to share your story with our audience. But before we get into that, the question I always ask of my guests is, have you ever been a people pleaser? And if so, how did that show up in your life?
Yes, I was a people pleaser for a very long time. Actually, I grew up into the indoctrination of being a people pleaser. If you are a good human, you please people. If you are a woman of good and of growth, and if you want people's admiration, you will put yourself last and everybody else first. And I actually heard it from aunts, from my own mother. I mean, it was part of the culture. So, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Ever since I was a little girl, I heard that many, many times. Yep.
Well, and I think that's part of why I'm excited to have this conversation with you is because you have lived this and you've come out on the other side and now recognize the importance of self-care. But before we dive into this very important conversation, I want to share your bio with the listeners so they can understand how wonderful.
Thank
Rodriguez
you.
is the owner and CEO of Wounded Healer LLC. She has been a licensed massage therapist for 18 years, certified canine massage therapist for 8 years. That's super cool. Fitness instructor for 45 plus individuals, and Zumba and dance teaching for 30 years. I am pumped to talk about that too. I'm a former dancer. Amazon best-selling book co-author, holistic life coach, motivational and inspirational speaker, educator, and volunteer. My goodness, what don't you do? Blanca is a member and mentor at the American Massage Therapy Association, member, mentor, and vice president of public relations at Talking Heads of Stewart Toastmasters. Very cool. Member of Treasure Coast Advanced Toastmasters, and member, mentor, and vice president of public relations at Puerto Rico Toastmasters Club. Wow. I am pumped.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad.
so, so fun. So many cool things that we could talk about. So let's dive into the turning point for you of realizing that you needed to, and I don't use the word need very often, but needed to stop putting yourself last. Tell us a little bit about that.
Ever since I was a little girl, I always danced to the beat of my own drum, to the
Mhm.
rhythm of my own drum in almost every aspect in my life. And that cost me quite a bit of clashing troubles, problems, venturing into places where honestly I could have passed of those. But hey, this is the whole human experience, and we are not
Mhm.
supposed to be perfect in any way or form. And my mother is very old school. I'm part of the older generation. My mother is 93 years old. I just
Mhm.
came back this morning from Puerto Rico from taking care of her.
Mm.
And the culture at that time was all about putting everybody else first. And you, especially as a mom, when
Mhm.
you are a mother, if you are a good mother, everybody else is first. Your kids are first than you are. You give your life for your kids, and don't take me wrong. I will take anything to save my kids in the event, because I'm a mother myself, and I will do anything to save my kids in the event of something bad happening. It's like, okay, I'll take the bullet. I don't care. I'm fine. I have lived a long, productive, fantastic life filled with ups and downs and all around. But it was much more than that. It was, you put yourself last in every single sense of the word, meaning if your emotional health is at stake, you put yourself last. If you have chronic untreated mental illnesses like my mother did, you put yourself last. If your needs are not fulfilled, because the needs are others are more important than yours, that's when you're a good person. That's when you're a good
Mhm.
lady. Oh, you're doing your job right there.
Wow.
I grew up around that environment, and as I kept on getting older, I entered my teenage years. I got rebellious. I entered my early 20s. My early 20s, I rebelled in a way that me and my mother had hardly any relationship whatsoever, because she still, and my poor mother, I adore her, in her mentality and her untreated mental illness that she had for so long. She was lost in, you are supposed to be an obedient. It's like, I am not going to obey nobody. I'm going to listen to my gut, to my heart, and do silly things along the way. Yeah. Falling on my butt many times and getting back up. But it's the only way, in my experience, to learn that it's like, no, I have my own voice. For the many years that I didn't have a voice, for the many years that I kept silent, for the many years that I had so many dark seasons in my life, because
Mm.
everything was a shh.
Right.
My father died tragically. You don't talk about the dead.
Mm.
Mental illness, it was chronic mental illnesses going on. This was the 70s and the early 80s, when it was total taboo. You don't talk about that. Another major issue thrown under the rug and under the
Mm.
rug. And I was to myself, how long until I am going to come out of my shell and do what I am meant to do in this world? And I was the ugly duckling. I
Mm.
was, oh, you're rebellious, you are trouble, you're the troublemaker. So be it,
Mm.
man. I'm gonna be myself no matter what. And that's why dancing to the beat of my own drum, it wasn't only as a professional dancer, and dance saved my life from
Mm.
so many deep rabbit holes. Music
Wow.
and dance have been the most consistent love that I had. That was it, music and
Wow.
dance. And the beauty of it is this: my mother was the one that introduced me to music, because we grew up around music. So I have that to be very grateful to her for. And
Mhm.
this innate talent that I have for dancing, I will look at people dancing, I dance, I copy what they did.
Mm.
And that's another beautiful thing. But on the other hand, it was the other side of being a woman, a female in a Latino machista community. And
Wow.
it was very complicated. My brother, we are three siblings. I'm the youngest of three, my brother, my sister, and I. And I would always be just like, damn, this is unfair that my brother can do whatever he wants. And
Mm.
you want to keep me home, and you want to keep me home because you want to protect my virginity. It's like, dude, chill out. I did whatever I did, and that's not for anybody to make decisions for me. So I was the rebellious one, the troublemaker, the one that would be is like, no, you are gonna end up in something bad because you are always rebelling. And there was a huge reason for it, and it was because of that. But on the other hand, I was involved in a relationship that I submitted to it.
Mm.
It was it was a relationship plagued with domestic abuse. So
Mm.
here I went in submitting to it and being the victim of it,
Mm.
and saying to myself, okay, I am the mother of my two kids. I have to protect my kids, but at the same time, I want to have a family, mom, dad, kids. That's the way it's supposed to be, right?
Mm.
Wrong. When there is no way out on a relationship that is so redundant, going on this vicious circle and this crazy eight of the never ending crazy eight, someone has to break free. And
Mhm.
that was one of the pivotal moments in my life when I said, I'm out. I'm standing my ground finally, because this is what happens with the battered woman syndrome, which I was there for a very long time. We don't find the way out because we're too used to the situation and we submit. And of course, the culture, that indoctrination of the culture comes straight back on, if you are a good woman, you put everybody else first, then you. And
Mm.
when I finally broke free from that, Amy, I said, this life will never be the same again. I have a
Mm.
daughter, and I am not going to raise her to be a submissive person being manipulated because that's what she learned at home. It's like,
Right.
no. In order for change to happen, it has to start with me. And
Yes.
that was the aha moment. I left this man with my two kids in a broken down car and $89 in my bank account, and I never looked back. And it was,
Oh,
yes, yes. And I'm very grateful for the lessons, because if I didn't go down that rabbit hole and hit rock bottom, I wouldn't be able to get to the other side and start
yeah.
shining with my own light and start this healing, this beautiful, difficult, challenging healing journey that is
Mm.
going to be for the rest of my life. And it's about progress, not perfection. And
Yes.
now we fast forward all the way to now. I am happily married with a gentleman, with a
Mm.
gentle soul, a beautiful human being that respects me for the human that I am.
Yes.
And it's a world away from what it used to be. The
Mm.
relationship, my kids are adults now. So my daughter has learned to stand her ground.
Yes.
Doesn't exactly. She doesn't take any crap from anybody because she learned to stand her ground. And I will tell her, this is where you used to be, and this is where you are now.
Mm.
And the wounds, and I tell her this, and I tell myself this as well, the wounds are not my fault, but the healing is my responsibility.
Yes.
And when I stopped this people pleasing, and oh, I gotta throw myself down that cave because I'm pleasing everybody and saying yes and yes and yes. And instead of starting saying happily no, and when that changed, it's like, wow, I got more happiness in my life than I ever did before,
Mm.
because of the pressures of being a people pleaser, which takes us not far away. It takes us to a very difficult place of depression, stress, anxiety, and even being in grief with people, because, in a way, we want them to give back what we overgave. And
Yes.
that's not going to happen. That's what we chose to do. And in many ways, I was expecting back from people the same treatment. And if it didn't happen, it created even more of a problem.
Yes.
Versus now saying, yeah, that's very nice, but you know what? I cannot do that, and I cannot do that anymore. I won't do it for whatever reason it is. It's like just my choice, and I am doing what is best for me. And definitely, it shows around me, because
Mhm.
when we have more inner joy about saying no, no is very hard to say.
Oh, yes, I know.
When you say yes so much and you grow up saying yes, and saying no is like, this is one of the biggest challenges of my
Mhm.
life.
Mhm.
Saying no. And oh my God, Amy, now it's like, I'm so happy to say no. And I still pat myself on the
Good.
back. And I know that I will keep on doing this for a very long time to come, because it was so long, this journey of pleasing and pleasing and pleasing, and then transforming it into, no, I am gonna
Mhm.
really do this from my heart, from my soul, and from what is best for me and my abilities. And I still struggle sometimes. I'm not gonna deny it and saying no, but I'm getting there. I'm getting better. That's for sure.
Amazing. Yeah, I call myself a recovering people pleaser as well, so I'm on the journey.
Me too. Definitely recovering people pleaser. I love that one. Oh my God. I'm
Oh
gonna
my
write it down
god.
and everything. It's like, yeah, that's me.
So I'm curious, you said so many amazing things there, and I'm so grateful for you being a role model
Thank you.
for not only your kids but other humans, especially in the Latino community. I mean, all of us can benefit, even though I'm not from the Latino community, to hear your words of like, no more. I had to leave. It was time. And now to see you in such beautiful confidence and power in a relationship that is nourishing your soul and role modeling for your kids as well, that like there is another path on the other side of the darkness, right? And so incredible. I'd love to know, as you started to say no more often, what were some of the strategies you used to help yourself say no when it was very, very uncomfortable to do so?
I prayed.
Mm.
Yes. Yes, because there's always like big decisions to be done, to be taken, and I started following my gut much more. I pray and I do a lot of meditation.
Cool.
And
Okay.
the one thing that I started doing that has done give me great results is when there's a big decision to be made and I am in this wave
Mhm.
of maybe yes, maybe no, hold on. Give me some time and
Yes.
I'll let you know later. That's the best. That's one of the things that has been worked the best for any
Mhm.
decision that I have made. It's like, no, I'm not gonna make this decision immediately because I may say no anyway.
Yeah.
Say yes and then say no. It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm learning. I'm still learning tremendously. But the more I made the decision of saying, let me sleep on it for a second, I'll let you
Yes.
know. Then I can really internalize and look outside of myself and look at the bigger picture. that
Mhm.
has that has worked wonders for this being an ex people pleaser.
Yes, I
Yes,
love that.
definitely. That's the one thing that I have that I keep on practicing more and more is saying, hold on, let me get back to you on this one because I gotta either check on my schedule, check on my
Yes.
planner, give me some time, and because I don't want to jump into a decision and then say no.
Mhm. I love
So
it. And I would even add to that, because that's when I coach people on this, transition, I say almost the exact same thing. And I add to take a deep breath when you feel like you are naturally going to say yes, to practice taking a deep breath first,
mhm.
giving yourself the space to then think, okay, I'm going to say, I want some time to think about this, right? Any
Yes.
of the versions of what you just said was excellent. And so, deep breath, say the statement, go away and reflect, right? And meditate,
Mhm.
pray, whatever, make your pros and cons list,
Yes,
recognize the other question that I like to add in there in that phase of discovery or reflection is adding in the question of, will this serve my higher purpose?
exactly.
Because I know in my own experience, asking questions like that was frowned upon also, right? You don't
Mhm.
think of yourself, you think of yourself last. It's the same kind of thing that you've already been talking about, but I'm inviting people to actually be present with that question and
Mhm.
think through, is this in alignment with who I want to be now,
Right. Exactly.
today, going
Mhm.
forward? And if it's not, if it's serving an old version of you, or it's not aligned with you or your purpose, then maybe you already have your answer.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And
Mhm.
it's great to ask ourselves, is this really conducive to what I really want to do, to my growth, to how this is going to serve me in a good way tomorrow? Because it's so
Yeah.
easy to fall back and go backwards to those patterns that were so instilled in us. It's like
Yes.
the air we breathe. It was something like that. It's like, oh my God, this is like a tattoo that I cannot remove. And I mean, in I was for many decades in this world of people pleasing and putting
Mm-hmm.
myself last and putting myself last. So to turn that around into what it is today, it is challenging, but it's the biggest blessing that I ever
Mm.
had in my life. And I'm so grateful every single day for change.
Mm-hmm.
Change. We don't go in this life without change. Change is happening from the moment of conception to the moment of our passing. And we are all capable of change, from being a people pleaser to being standing on my own 2 feet and making important decisions and starting to say no and not feel guilty about it, because that's
Yes.
another one. That's another one. We carry a lot of guilt, and when there's guilt on saying no, it comes hand in hand with low self-esteem and being insecure. I was in all of it. And the very brief moments that I like, well, maybe I can say yes. Oh, hold on. Oh, I remind myself in an instant. There's no
Yeah.
time to waste here. I was there for way, way too long in my life to
Yep.
even look back into that behavior. We are beings of habits. We build habits. The the happy chemical in our body, dopamine is the neurotransmitter of habit. And the same way we went into this habit of people pleasing, habits are meant to be changed and it
Yes.
meant to be improved. And it takes us 21 to 67 days to change a habit or have a new habit. I will keep this habit for the rest of my natural life, and I'm very happy about it. Yes, ma'am.
Amazing.
Mhm.
Amazing. And you brought up the concept of guilt, and I'm curious what if you had one or two strategies that you used or still use to remind yourself that guilt is a learned behavior and it's not serving you. So what strategies did you use to support yourself in overcoming the guilt?
When I have clients, I'm a life coach too. When I have clients that they carry guilt, it's very important for them and for me, as a person that I used to be myself, to learn much more of our behaviors and where do they come from and where did we hear this before. I grew up around an environment of everything is guilt, and guilt has to do with people manipulating you into being guilty so they can get away with whatever they want from you at that moment in time. That is, I mean, the whole vicious circle when it comes to guilt, or somebody wanting you to feel guilty, or you personally being, oh my god, I feel guilty because I made the decision. Hell no, you don't have to feel guilty about anything. About
Right.
anything. You made the decision, and you made the decision for what is best for you. And when we finally going through that beautiful change, that this blessing that we call, no, guilt is non-existent in my life. I don't relate to guilt. Guilt is not who I am, and I don't believe in guilt. So even in my closest relationships, which may be with my sister, my husband, even, don't be blaming you. I don't blame anybody. I don't believe in blame. I stopped believing in blame, because blame is, here we go again, is totally hand in hand with guilt. I blame
Mhm.
you, I'm guilty. I blame you, and I'm guilty. And guilt is indoctrination, guilt is learned. The same way we learn about guilt, how about we learn about freedom? How about we learn about standing your ground? How about bringing that, stepping into that power and saying, nah, the blaming game with me is not going to work anymore. And
Mm.
thank goodness, Amy, I don't go with that in any aspect of my life, the professional, the personal. I don't. It's like I don't relate to what you're saying. It's
Yes.
to me, finally, and this is a process of
Mhm.
learning, of building these beautiful new habits that bring so much joy to our lives and
Mhm.
so much inner light. The inner light that comes out of me, it emanates because it was uh, a dormant giant. and it was waiting to come out and waiting to come out. And when I understood that guilt takes me nowhere, that is like, okay, I want to move on with my life. Guilt has to go out the door. Shame has to go out
Yes.
the door. Manipulation has to go out the door. Victimization has to go out the door. That is when beautiful things come out. Oh my God, I'm having goosebumps
I
here as I'm speaking. But yes, yes, and for all our listeners, and what a beautiful platform this is to
Thank you.
help others. And it's so important because you have a mission. I have a mission. Let's improve quality of life. No
Hmm.
matter what age we are, let's hit that
Yes.
restart button. No matter what age we are. If I have done it and I am in my late 60s,
Yeah.
anybody is capable. Anybody. Don't feel that shame. Don't feel that guilt about, oh my God, now I'm older. And, and this is another fantasy and it's an illusion that is instilled in us that, oh, you are older. You won't be able to learn new things. Really, let's remember something, change is a constant.
Yes.
Take it
Yeah,
from
it's
here.
so powerful. Oh my goodness. I think I could talk with you all day, and I love your spiciness. I
Thank
just love
you.
it. I love it. Oh my goodness. I felt the goosebumps too. And one of the things I would add to what you had said that came into my head was I no longer subscribe to this. Right? I
Absolutely.
no longer subscribe to the guilt and the blame, all of the things. There is a choice. And
Mhm.
I really, really am grateful for having you as a guest on the
I'm
podcast
grateful
today.
for
Thank
being
you.
here, Amy. Thank you. This was part of the plan. Thank you for having me because I just landed today at 1 o'clock in the morning from taking care of my mother. I was in Puerto Rico. She has frontotemporal dementia and she's in advanced stages. And this has been a second breather for me because I was very exhausted emotionally, and I was like, and I told my husband, well, I'm really tired, and he's like, well, you know what, you have something to do here, and I'm like, yes,
Tell your husband thank you.
absolutely, absolutely, I have something very important to
Yes.
do here, and thank you for the energy, thank you for having me, and I'm very grateful to be here to help others because that's exactly what we are doing. The power of the people pleasers. Don't subscribe for it. Don't subscribe to it. The same way you subscribe, you can unsubscribe. Remember that.
Yes, be sure to subscribe to this podcast, but
Absolutely.
unsubscribe to people, please. I love it.
Unsubscribe to the guilt, unsubscribe to the people pleasing, unsubscribe to the manipulation. Yes, we're all
I
capable of
love
it.
it.
Hmm.
So great. Thank you so so much for wrapping that up. And
Thank
to
you.
all of our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to Power to the People Pleasers yet again. Please stay tuned for the next episode coming soon.